So you and I like to play Call of Duty, right?
Big Call of Duty fan.
We're big hardcore kill confirm
That's
players.
it. It's the only way to play.
There's a lot of guys that are like us, just old and not very good.
Handsome.
Right. But we can go on and we can do these matches where we have a custom match and we can have a bet on it.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I've heard about these. Well, I was watching this documentary and it started talking about this thing called swatting. Have you heard of this?
Basically, somebody calls in a situation to somebody else's residence typically, and it gets the police to show up out there with the police thinking they're coming to some sort of emergency.
Well, I had no clue this shit existed until I heard this term and I've gone down a rabbit hole on it. So one of the most famous, he called himself like the king of swatters, was on Twitter, and he was known. He was a gentleman that was known for calling bomb threats
Hmm.
to elementary schools in Southern California.
Messed up.
He lived in California, so he did a lot of things around California. He would also call into residences or people that had beef with him.
Online.
Yeah,
Yep.
and he would call in like if he got in an argument with somebody online, somebody was trolling him. He would figure out what their address was, which that's called doxing.
Yep.
So I'm learning all these new terms.
Not to be confused with docking.
That's completely between
Find that one
or
on that's on Urban Dictionary.
don't find that one on there. So
We will not demonstrate docking.
no, we will not at all. So what transpired is this guy ended up he was living with his grandmother. He's doing these swatting attacks on people.
Well, there's your first clue right there. This guy is living with his grandmother.
Yeah.
At what age? Do we know?
He was 18, 19.
Okay, all right.
He was pretty much raised by his grandmother.
All right, all right.
But he got bored with just making these bomb threats at elementary schools because that's not very exciting. So he thought, you know what, I'm going to do a bomb threat at the news station and have them cover it live because he goes, ooh, that's what I wanted. Well, while he was doing this, and you ask, how was he able to do this from like his grandma's phone?
How is he doing this from his grandma's phone?
Well, he wasn't. I mean, kids are a little more sophisticated with computers than we are. So they were using that VoIP stuff, voice over internet protocol.
Mm-hmm.
So he was routing it. It looked like something like Jason Bourne. But while he was doing this in his room, his grandmother overheard what was going on, went outside into the living room and noticed that there was a bomb threat and made a correlation. So she told her son, she goes, or her grandson, I know you've done this. To which he responded back, yes, I've done this. And if you tell anybody, I will fucking kill you, to his grandmother. So obviously not very stable, right?
He's not going to be in the will.
Right. So what did grandma do? Grandma don't take no shit.
Beat that ass, I hope.
No, grandma don't take no shit. She called the cops and swatted him. So he ended up put in jail. She got a restraining order against him. He couldn't go back. So in order to support himself when he got out of jail, he used his skills to SWAT people for hire. And you ask, well, how much do you charge for a swatting?
How much would one charge for such a thing?
Well, you would charge $10 to $15 depending on how complex the SWAT was.
Fortunately, we've only had a handful of those type of calls in Tulsa that I'm aware of. One of them which happened when I was a new police supervisor, and it was actually not too far from your old place. It was somewhere around maybe like 12th, 15th and Lewis area or something like that, over in that area, if I remember correctly. And a call was coming in from somebody whispering that was saying they were a female and that their dad had just killed, I think, their mom and like their little brother or their little sister or something. And this person was whispering the whole time, saying they were hiding underneath the bed in their house, and was saying, my dad doesn't know I'm here. He's walking around the house. He's got a gun. He's killed these people, and gave an address. So we're all taking off going there. And we get over to the place, and I mean, I was a brand new supervisor. This is back in 05, 06, something like that. And we're basically setting up a perimeter. And at this point, the dispatcher still has the person on the call, and we get the address. Obviously, we don't want to set up at the wrong address, so we're trying to verify through the dispatcher who's talking to the person on the phone that this is in fact the correct address. So we're trying to get numbers to the house and the street. We're trying to ask for things such as the color of the house, what cars are outside and so forth, because we want to obviously again make sure we're setting up on this wrong the correct house. Well, one of the things on these type of calls is, basically if you're suspect, that you believe the suspect in this situation, the dad comes outside, we're going to try to address him, give him commands, to basically surrender to us.
Right. Because you think he's a murderer.
Correct. And we have an arrest team and stuff like that. When you also have what we call long gun coverage, someone with what we call a precision rifle operator, somebody with an AR-15 or something like that. So we've
Deer
got
hunter.
patrol officers that carry ARs here in Tulsa. Obviously, everybody does. And so we get one set up across the street, basically looking at the front door of what we believed is his house. And the order that me as a supervisor that I had to give was, if this guy steps out on the porch and we give him commands of surrender and he doesn't do that, if he turns to go back inside the house,
Drop him.
literally that's it. You are authorized to put this guy down, because we think we have this kid inside underneath the bed. And so that was my decision as a supervisor. I was like, at the time,
That's a tough decision to make.
well, I was on the SWAT team at the time. I'd been on probably 5 or 6 years around this time, and obviously well versed in training and what we call tactical operation guidelines, things like that, knowing what the law allows you to do and stuff like that, and obviously thinking about the safety of this kid. So the decision wasn't hard to make, but like even talking about it today, and it's something post right after it happened, I thought about. I was like, dude, I just gave the green light to an officer that, hey, if this guy comes on the porch and doesn't do what he's supposed to do in terms of go in the house, you put him down. And the more information we kept getting, trying to get from the cars didn't match up to the house we were at. The color of the house didn't match up to where we were at. And we finally, basically, just through other, putting in calls and stuff like that, the name that they were giving, because of the databases we have where we can run utility checks on residences, we can run what we call our TRACES system, which is our Tulsa Regional Record System. You run that and you go, nothing this person's giving matches up. The only thing that matches up is the address they're giving us. And it turned out to be a complete bogus deal. And this person that had done this had done 3 or 4 of these over a couple of weeks in Tulsa. And I don't remember if they ended up eventually getting caught, but it was just like all of a sudden they stopped. But with all that being said, you say, is it hard to give that decision? I don't have a problem either myself or giving the order for somebody if something, if it's a justifiable deal that we need to do, I'd go to sleep just fine. But think about that. Had somebody come out on the front porch that night and, hey, Tulsa Police, come here, come here. And the guy's like, man, I don't know what you're talking about, and turns to go in the house. And boom, we end up shooting this guy. So that's the impact these swatting type calls can have, because it's innocent people's homes that you are in fact going to.
Yeah.
So,
And I mean, it's beyond a prank.
oh yeah, it's horrible. I mean, it is. It's like I said, an 18-year-old kid who thinks it's funny, or he's pissed off at somebody online, and you know, again, wasting police resources. People, people can get hurt from these things.
Well, I mean, what I heard was that the average minimum cost to send out a SWAT team is something around $10,000
Oh
in
yeah,
resources.
exactly. It's a lot. It's a lot of manpower, a lot of overtime.
Right, for a kid with a cell phone.
Mm.
Or a kid calling over his computer or stuff. So the reason, I guess you're asking why I brought up all that Call of Duty stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah. You just wanted to get your handle out there so people could do friend requests.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I have so much time to play Call of Duty. But so a case happened. 2 guys were playing like a matched pair game, which a matched pair game is, it's 2 versus 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's hardcore. So in hardcore, you can also shoot.
I have respect. You could shoot your partners.
Yeah. So they're playing this and they're doing a match game, which they've bet. And do you want to know what the wager was?
Well, based on the guy that charges $10 to $15 for his swatting, I'm going to say $10 to $15.
It was $1.50.
Okay, these are big people.
So these guys were playing.
So before you finish your story, I'm going to tell you. So here's my ultimate thing I talk shit about on Call of Duty. At the end of the game, when somebody is just talking shit, it's usually, after the game's over, when you're in the little lobby where
and they
everyone
have
scores.
horrible stat.
Well, it's even if it's somebody who's really good, you motherfuckers suck, y'all suck, I whipped your ass, and this and that. And that's usually, I say it calm as can be, my credit score's better. That's all I say in the lobby, dude. People start laughing. I'm like, no, my credit score's better. I don't give a fuck. My credit score's better. So the $1.50, these people are not concerned about their credit score if that's what they're wagering.
Well, so these guys wager this game. They go and play. Um, the guy's teammate shoots him and kills him. The guy freaks out, right? And they get in a huge yelling match over this, right? This is like you and I playing together.
That is one of the funny things when you're playing in the game. So you can only communicate with the people on your team during
Right.
gameplay, and you have people screaming at each other
Right.
on the same team.
Well, yeah, we're not like that. We just go on pew pew.
Yeah, we don't care.
So he ends up screaming at him. He goes, "You motherfucker! I am so pissed at you. I'm gonna have your house swatted." Tells the guy this, right?
Okay.
He goes, I'm gonna find the king of swatters. Well, the king of swatters was a Twitter handle for this guy who was doing this stuff for 10 to 15 bucks a swat. So this guy contacts him and he says, "Hey, my Call of Duty partner sucks. He lost a match. I'm out $1.50. I'm willing to pay you $15 or 10 times as much
That is 10 times.
if you can cause him a little bit of grief." And the guy goes, "Yeah, I don't know about that." Well, his partner catches wind that he's contacted this guy in the Twitter feed. So since he's contacted this guy in the Twitter feed, he can see it in the Twitter feed.
Oh, yeah. These are smart people we're talking about.
Right. So his partner goes, "Listen up, king of the swatters. Here's my address. Come get you some." So the king of the swatters has a little bit of an ego. He kind of gets off on doing this. He's been taunted. He looks at the guy's address. He's in Wichita, Kansas. And anybody that's been to Wichita, Kansas knows that.
BTK serial killer?
Yeah, I've ever heard. Yeah, you have heard of that guy?
Yeah. Not much else in Wichita.
Cessna airplanes. They're out of there.
It's just like it's the only town you basically drive through once you get out of Sand Springs, Oklahoma, until you get to Denver.
Yeah, it is.
There's not much.
There's that one place that Bob Dole's from. So he ends up calling Wichita's police department. He tells them that his dad has just killed his mom.
Similar to my story here.
Right. They have a common script. He gets the guys. He gives a description. He says, "I'm still in the house. You need to come over here and take care of this." Well, little did the police know that they were being swatted. So the police show up at this address. A gentleman opens the door, comes out. You guys, when you roll deep, you roll deep.
Sure.
And if you
especially on a call like that.
Yeah, if you think somebody's armed, I mean, your job's stressful as hell. You know, you have people shooting at you when you don't expect it. So if you do expect them to be shooting at you, I mean, you're ready to go. Shows up at this house, knocks on the door, guy comes out, has no idea what's going on, right? Because the partner, had given him the wrong address.
Jeez.
Unfortunately, this guy comes out, the police are there. He turns around and walks back into the house. He gets shot as he's turning around and going back in and is killed.
I just want, so just for everybody listening, the story that I was giving about my incident
is not this.
Well, no. I was saying Howard and I did not pre-discuss anything we were going to talk about on here. And it wasn't like we shared stories. So this is just exactly going to what I had said earlier. This is what you fear that happens on these type of calls.
And this is exactly, and when you were saying that, that's what I was like, this is horrible. So the swatter ends up, there's is
it like a felony murder charge?
No, he got charged with involuntary manslaughter.
Okay.
And ended up he was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison for that.
Okay.
I don't know what happened.
He used probably computer or telephonic device across like state lines or something like that, I'm imagining. That's why it was a federal deal.
Yeah, absolutely. But the guy that did it was a guy named Tyler Barreras, and he was like basically a 25-year-old homeless kid that was doing this stuff. But this is just, here's what it said. It unlocked a new fear for me. Like, I'm scared of my snakes, right? I'm scared of my mama. And now I'm scared of the swatted.
So now you play with mute on every time now?
Yeah, I don't talk any shit, and I'm not playing any match games to where I have to put up money. And if I do, I'm just like, I'm so sorry that I killed you.